Christine Woodward transforms both businesses and attitudes in entrepreneurship by holding Fortune 500 executives and sole practitioners accountable during the execution phase. She's the founder of 19th & Co., a woman-led and a woman-owned consultancy known for its entrepreneurial and empowering culture. She joined me this week to discuss how her company empowers and emboldens businesses, specifically women-owned, to capture their own definition of desire and success. I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. Christine, if you're ready, I'll formally welcome you to the program, and I'm excited to talk all about business and achieving our dreams in business with you this afternoon. Great to see you, and thanks for being here.
Thank you. Yes, thank you so much for having me, Kevin.
Christine, I know that you work with businesses to try and get them to realize their fullest potential, and you tell me that there is a way to achieve that. So I'm wondering if you could kick off our conversation by telling me how we can achieve our business goals successfully.
Yeah, I think being a bit of a broad question, so I'll try to answer it as best as I can. But really, our business goals are so much rooted in what we want our lifestyle to be and what we want and see our lives really being, right. Especially as business owners, it's so much tied to our personal lives, at least from what I've experienced with my clients. And whether it's a new business of brand new or 5 years old or 20 years old, and they're maybe looking to exit, how much of it do you want it to be a lifestyle? Do you want to really ramp it up and scale it to be an empire? Those sorts of things. But achieving those goals, so much of that takes confidence. And I see that just left and right in any one of my clients' needs. It's really the confidence, which comes from education, about a certain topic in the industry or something, or, decisiveness about something. But again, all of that is stemmed from confidence. So achieving our goals really comes from confidence and having enough resources that you can feel really confident in the decisions you're making.
Absolutely. And you say that there are three primary methods to turning our dreams into realities repeatedly. So can you share those with me this afternoon?
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah. So the three that I like to harp on, the first is really of any goal that you've got, whether it's in your business or your personal life, is really jotting that down, like uncovering it, dusting it off in your mind, and being decisive that you're going to move that one forward, whatever that goal or step might be. The second is actually vocalizing it. So saying it out loud to five, I say 10 people, 5 strangers and 5 people, and that really makes it a reality for people. It's really, I make it analogous to going into into a store, and then actually grabbing the item off of the rack and taking it into the dressing room and trying it on. Taking it off the rack is like jotting down and kind of committing to this idea that you want to move forward. Then going into the dressing room is and actually putting it on is vocalizing it. So it is going out and talking about it. And then the third step is really to start taking actions on those. So, right, is it going up to the cash register and actually purchasing it? this is all an analogy for it, or is it actually you can't afford it right now, so you then enact a strategy for saving for that item. Again, that's the analogy, going out and getting that one item you've been wanting. But if it has to do with in your personal life, going out and getting, working out finally and walking around the block, to launching a new business or a new service within your existing business, any one of those 3 steps is something that I push on my clients on a regular basis.
And I'm also wondering your thoughts on how to prioritize business priorities, because I know for myself, anytime I want to make a big decision, I try to go for a walk and try to sort of go through every pro and con of every business decision. So how do you think we can better get some business clarity when we're trying to make big business decisions?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and definitely something we all struggle with. I think the easiest, and I don't say that lightly. I think the best way to go about doing that is actually making certain you've got jotted down somewhere, or for yourself in your mind, which I tend to work so quickly. What's in my mind gets, flies out the other ear. And so you got to jot these things down. So what I'm suggesting is jotting down your big vision. You don't know your priorities without knowing your big vision, right? So it's really that starting point of, what's the finish line? Where do you want to go with this thing? Like I was saying earlier, kind of, is it that lifestyle business, or is it the empire you want to build? And then it's working backwards from that. And that's how you can really uncover your priorities.
Yeah, I always tell people when they ask me about this sort of stuff, what's your time frame? What are your resources? And how productive do you want to be? When you answer those 3 questions, you can provide some clarity, right?
That's awesome. That's a really good list. I like that a lot. I'm going to use that. That's really...
Feel free without any commission, I promise.
Okay. Thanks.
So you also call yourself the change catalyst. I know that you've worked with sole entrepreneurs and Fortune 500 companies. So tell me about the broad spectrum of people that you work with, and having the ability to tailor business expectations depending on the group that you're working with.
Yeah. Yeah. And you say group, I'll just reframe that a little. It's always an individual. And of course they have a group behind them because it's their business or something, or their team. But, there's really not much of a difference between the two. It's the wild thing. It's the same comment I've heard someone mention in passing, saying, we're all working 40 hours a week or more. We're all working the same number of hours, or we're all working, that the work day. So whether you're making $5 an hour or $500 an hour, whether you're at a Fortune 500 company or you're a solopreneur, it kind of all comes down to the same issues that we all run into, and it's that lack of confidence. And that's really the change catalyst that I speak to, is helping you to reframe your thought process so that you can go out and attack, that conference room of Fortune 500, C-suites, or the conference room of your team of 5 because you have a small interior design business. And really that's the change catalyst that I coin myself as, and what my clients would certainly coin me as well.
Fabulous. And I know that you have a definition of a real business owner, which isn't typical. So I'm wondering if you could share that with me.
Oh yeah. A business owner, I do. So often business owners get bogged down in as they should, and rightfully so, from this, launching of their business, in the day-to-day, right? So that is how they built their business, is being the point person on the day-to-day. But once you start growing and scaling your business, you start to move away from that. That naturally happens, of course, and any owners who are listening certainly have experienced that. But what an owner should be ultimately, and should be defined as, and be seeing themselves as that, is the conductor. So you can imagine an orchestra conductor standing up at the front, right? He knows how to lightly play every one of those instruments, or at least know what goes into it. He knows how to read the music. He or she knows how to, knows the cadence of that particular song. But by no means is an expert in any one of those, or is actually going out into its, orchestral seating arrangement and going and grabbing one of the instruments and playing it. Maybe in practice they might, but the point is that's what a business owner is and should be acting as, is that conductor.
And we talked earlier about the big vision, and I know that you also have some advice for business owners that want to push new initiatives over the finish line. So I'm wondering if we could circle to that part of our conversation this afternoon.
Yeah. Again, I think it goes back to, and my apologies for having those questions be a little redundant, but it goes back to the big vision. And knowing which initiatives we should actually, right? So it's really taking an inventory of all the initiatives you have, and they're just going to do a brain dump is what I call it. So you're going to brain dump all the initiatives onto a list, and then you're going to look at your big vision, hopefully, or work on identifying what that big vision is, and then see which ones really help to move you, forward. I think so often business owners, and really anyone, starts to chip away at their to-do list at the ones that are just low-hanging fruit, the biggest fires, when those are just kind of busy work and don't necessarily move you toward your big initiative. And so to stay focused, it is making certain you've got that big initiative in line, and that's how you can know which initiatives to then move over the finish line.
Absolutely. And Christine, I used to work in inclusive employment for people with disabilities. And one of the things that I found when trying to secure employment for individuals with disabilities is the importance of establishing sustainable relationships and the value of human connection. So I'm wondering your thoughts on the importance of creating relationships that are lasting and dependable.
Yeah, and sorry, just what's the question in terms of how important those are?
Yeah, just how important forming dependable relationships are.
Yeah, it is. As a consultant, you have two choices. There's kind of two paths you can go down. Certainly the just B2B and you're in and out. But I really like to assimilate and get into a person's business and know that person, because their business is an extension of them. And so knowing them, then I really do get to know their business and what decisions I know that they then would make be based on me knowing their personality. So it's so true. We're in a time of DEI, all inclusion, diversity, equity, so much about that right now as well. That's come to the forefront. And I think it's wonderful. And it's identifying, all the aspects that people can bring to the table and not judging a book by its cover. And that's really comes down to the heart of getting to know people.
Yeah, you speak about getting to know people. I'm wondering, when you talk to business leaders, how are they working to get through the COVID period? How, in terms of recovery, when you talk to business leaders, what are they telling you about recovering from COVID?
Oh, yeah, that's specific to the interior design industry, which I focused a lot of. That's certainly my expertise. So the design industry in general, they got a little bit of a way with it because they were part of the construction industry. So they were considered essential for about 50% of COVID, where the rest of the individuals were remote, but they were still remote. And that experience, I think it taught efficiency and focus, but it did lose a sense of connectivity in one respects, but another aspect, and I'm getting my MBA at Johns Hopkins. And so we're doing a lot of remote classes, and, what it does do is actually gives you a window into their world too. Babies and dogs are coming into the picture. And so that is the silver lining. There has been an opportunity for owners to get to know their team on actually a much more personal level, because they're literally seeing inside their homes and seeing all the extremities that are kind of popping on in and out of the screen. So while it's caused a little more, physical distance, it's actually caused also some more personable interaction and getting to know their team members. Yeah.
And do you think working from home is going to be the wave of the future in terms of going back to work on a full-time basis?
Yeah. Sadly, no, we're all too deeply ingrained. Companies have their leases on their buildings. Likely it didn't line up with COVID. Their lease isn't just up right now or during COVID. Likely they're 5 or 10 year leases. So those leases are not going anywhere. And our methods are deeply ingrained. Like I said, it really is. I think they're going to offer a little bit more hybrid, but in my expert opinion, it's going to wear off in about a year's time and we'll all be back to exactly where we were.
I have to tell you, I've done this podcast since May of last year, and I've done too many Zoom calls to remember. I'll never take for granted the value of human connection again. I'll tell you that much.
It really is. It really is. There's so much truth in that, for sure.
And tell me, outside of work, Kristen, what do you like to do for fun? I know you live out there in the San Francisco Bay Area. So when you're not working, what do you like to do for fun?
Yeah, well, I've got 2 little kids, a 3.5-year-old and a 6-year-old. So they certainly keep me busy. So there's not much free time, I would say.
Well, you don't have to say anything else. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's it right there. That's my free time. My kids, which I wouldn't have it any other way. My kids and my husband, and it's great,
So yeah, so what do you do in terms of family time? What do you guys?
Oh, right. What do we actually do? Yeah, besides keeping up with life and getting ready for the next week, we do like to get out, have them practicing their bike riding. We try to get to the pool as often as we can to, obviously teach them how to swim, but then just get that sun and try to be outside as much as possible. And I think that's probably a result of COVID also, right? When we're in the office, you have to commute to the office, first of all, so you're getting out of your house, and then you're maybe going to lunch, and the efficiency of being at home and working from home has been great, but it doesn't get us out of the house much, except for when I go pick up my kids from school. So yeah, I think we're really trying to get out of the house and do as many things. We take hikes, those sorts of things, which are wonderful here in the Bay Area.
Absolutely. And Kristen, tell me, I'm wondering if you've given any thought to what you want your personal or professional legacy to be defined by.
Oh, my life's work.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, I'd love to be known by, in terms of my life's work, it is my passion project, which is called the Judy Project. It is a confidence revolution to help teach and train women in particular, but really anyone suffering from a lack of confidence, which runs pretty rampant in the female community. But really a world tour of teaching women the skill of confidence. And if nothing else, the idea that confidence is a skill and that therefore can be acquired.
Absolutely. And tell me, if people want to get connected with you, what's the best way they can do that?
Yeah, please do. I'd love to share with your listeners my direct email address. Whether you're a small business owner or want to talk about confidence, I'm here for you and would love to have a strategy chat. My email address is CHRISTINE@19THAND.co, and that stands for 19th & Co, the consultancy, where you can also find the Judy Project.
Fantastic. Christine, I'm better for talking to you. I feel smarter than I did when I started this conversation. So I really want to thank you for providing your great insights and perspectives and for joining me this afternoon. It's most appreciated.
No, thank you, Kevin. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you for the insightful questions and deep conversation.